Hello, and thanks for joining us on this edition of Signature TV Interview. I am Obiora Ilo. Today on this interview segment, we have the pleasure of hosting His Excellency the Ambassador of Antigua and Barbuda, His Excellency Ambassador Wallace Williams. Ambassador Williams, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Vin.
Ambassador, we all woke up and not only heard, but when the footages started coming, we also saw the devastation that the hurricane known as Hurricane Irma had done in the islands of Antigua and Barbuda.
Yes.
Tell us about that day. What happened? How did this happen?
Well, I think the fury of climate change is rearing its ugly head. And it is now a manifestation, whether people want to believe it or not, US administration, etc., that's saying there's nothing like climate change, it's a hoax, etc. That is a manifestation. Harvey hit first, and it was the United States. And then came Irma. We like to say it's a husband and wife tag team. You know, Irma came with fast fury category 5. And for the first time in the history of the islands, you know, of the Caribbean, an entire country had to be evacuated. The eye of the storm landfall on the island of Barbuda, and it was completely destroyed. According to the Prime Minister, Honorable Gaston Brown, to him it was like a bomb that had hit the island, and it was catastrophic. 99% or 100% really of the entire island was destroyed. And all infrastructure, housing, you know, luckily there was only one life lost. It was a baby, a 2-year-old. But when the Prime Minister, the night before the storm, he was in a panic mode when he called me and said, please, 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 we need some help. We are going to need some help, because I think he already got the meteorological outtake of how hard it was going to hit. And there was no doubt about it. The next day it was completely destroyed. And as you saw from some of the footage, the entire island had to be evacuated. Lives, right, were destroyed in terms of, you know, there is no longer a home. The entire island had to be evacuated. They are now being accommodated in Antigua. Some are in homes, shelters, staying with family. 600 students need to be school teachers. So now they're going to have to live a life outside of the island for some time, because the island now needs rebuilding, and that is where we are at now, asking for help around the world. Some have come from Qatar, Dubai, and there is some loans that have come from a couple agencies. Well, I have to say donations. And the result is that there's 300 million approximately needed to rebuild Barbuda. And with the small tokenism that has been given, Antigua still needs about 200 million just to rebuild the entire island. So from infrastructure down, new airport, new police station, hospitals, schools, houses. It's a brand new island now. And the Prime Minister has said he now wants to make that island the #1 green island of the world. So it's going to be an alternative eco-green island in the future.
Okay. Yes, it came so fast, but yes, there was still some little room for warnings, telling people to move.
There was not sufficient time based on the logistics available. If you can imagine that Barbuda has a small airport which can only take light aircraft that can carry maybe 4 to 5 people at a time, how many trips and how many small aircraft would you need to evacuate 2,000 people? That's one. Secondly, the ferry carries perhaps about 100 to 200 people plus, cars. How many trips would I have had to make to evacuate, the entire island? And in addition, when you have a hurricane, don't forget, you're getting advanced swells long before that eye of the storm hits the island. So you have wind, rain, and it's of course dangerous to fly, but also more importantly, dangerous to sail. So you had not only the logistics problem of not having the right vehicles like a proper, maybe a fast patrol a boat from the United States or one of these evacuating carriers or a large 747, you had the climate itself which was affecting
even
flights.
the logistics of moving.
Even the logistics of moving. So all that could have been done was that the Prime Minister had to say, batten down the hatches and see how one can, stay out the storm, So logistically, that was a nightmare and perhaps almost not impossible, but if we had the right equipment, as I said, an aircraft carrier or a large jumbo 747 which can take the battering of the winds and quickly land and go. But then you had little time because don't forget also the hurricane was moving in a particular pattern, and as you know, 1 second it can go off course. Another second can go to another direction. It's all about the movement within the sea and the warm air that's moving it.
From what you have described and from what we saw in footages,
yes,
it was a miracle that it was just a life that was lost.
Yes, and that was just unfortunate. The mother of this child, the flood, the grip slipped and the child was swept away. And because she too was battling, of course, a severe swell. But you are quite correct. Maybe we have to say that God intervened, and two, perhaps Barbudans are good swimmers.
Well, that also poses a big challenge for the island,
yes,
just like you were saying.
Yes.
Rebuilding an island from scratch.
Yes.
It was so bad that the entire island was evacuated.
Yes.
Reports say about 100%. There was no,
there's nobody in the island.
There's nobody in the island right now. How? Yes, you've talked about the help coming. Which other ways is the government in Antigua and Barbuda looking at this rebuilding? How are they opening up probably the economy to accept investments, or how are they opening the country to attract more people to come and help in the rebuilding project?
Very, very, very good question. Antigua is open for business. The Prime Minister wants investment, and of course that will be probably part of the building up of revenue to help the country. One of the key things is citizenship by investment. And as you know, Antigua and Barbuda, like most of the Caribbean islands, are tourism-based economies, and some are agricultural-based. So let's take the first one, tourism. There are incentives for citizenship by investment to come invest in hotels, right? And any tourism-related type businesses, right? So if you want to invest in a hotel, or you want to build a hotel, or any of those related activities, the economy is open for investors like that. And you also have the good advantage of also getting citizenship for your investment, apart from your return on your investment. And of course, you can repatriate your profits free. You can bring in the equipment free of charge, bring in the labor force free of charge. And of course, you get tax holidays, concessions, 25 to 30 years. And that, I think, is a great incentive for any investor wanting to come down to the Caribbean of Antigua and Barbuda. Then housing. We have quite a lot of housing developers here in Nigeria who build estates. you don't have to build much more than about 2,000 to 3,000 houses in Barbuda to help it rebuild, plus a hospital, a police station, a fire station, and of course a new airport, right? So people who are interested in housing and who are housing developers can come to Antigua and Barbuda, and the government is open to that. And of course you can do it either on a PPP, or you can develop, you have the land, you develop, and you hand over to the government, and you make your profits that way as well. Agriculture. As you know, the islands are all agricultural bound, and of course Antigua and Barbuda is no different. We are looking at especially new agricultural crops, things that can withstand also a hurricane. So like a moringa tree, palm oil plants, maybe the short ones which are very well rooted, which gives you 52 products. That I think could be a good mainstay and a new crop, new sets of crops for the island. So agriculturists, nurses, doctors, urban planners, housing developers, hotel investors, cement, for example, wood. We are asking, the Nigerian government to help us with getting some immediate materials for rebuilding. Nigerian wood, as you know, from Benin and other parts of Nigeria is very strong, very good. Nails, screws, anybody who is looking at distributing some of these products can come down and invest. So Antigua is open for business. And the good thing is that we have bilateral relations with Nigeria. As you know, President Obasanjo came and opened up those bilaterals in 2005 when I took him to Antigua from his visit in the Caribbean. And that has opened up, the two countries. I dare say that Antigua was very instrumental in helping Nigeria with the UN reform and getting a seat on the UN Security Council, with 11 of the Eastern Caribbean states voting in bloc under the chairmanship of Antigua in 2005, thereabouts, 2005, 2006. So we see Nigeria as a big brother, and Nigeria now can repay that very same debt, back to Antigua and Barbuda by investments. We will be looking at, for example, allocation of oil, which can help the economy grow, and there's an oil company, West Indies Oil Company, that is owned by the government, 51%. That can also help. All these are areas that can help. So anyone who's interested in doing a blending plant, in storage, for example, because we have and are building storage tanks for fueling the ships that are coming in, the cruise ships that are coming in the capital, St. John's, because that is now becoming a hub for cruise ships, and with what happened in St. Martin, a lot of other ships are coming there. We have building a sixth berth, to ensure that it can be accommodated. Then, any investor that is looking at oil, gas, blending, LPG, and I've said it, housing, and all these areas, the opportunities are there, and you have so much advantage. So now it is the time to know and understand that there is an island, Antigua and Barbuda, that is an investment destination with so many concessions, including citizenship.
Okay, when you talked about building a green city,
yes,
out of the ruins of Antigua and Barbuda,
yes,
I was excited.
Yes.
How did the Prime Minister and his government come to that conclusion, and how do they intend to achieve it?
Well, I think the Prime Minister saw that, look, Barbuda now totally decimated. What do I do to make it attractive? One, he's thinking that he wants Antigua and Barbuda to be the hub of the Caribbean, economic hub, and he wants it to be the Dubai of the Caribbean. And he is very much an environmentalist. And he's thinking, look, now that we have this situation, let's go green. Let's go alternative energy. Yes, as he said in his interview recently to the Canadians, we will have fossil fuel as backup, but we are looking at an entirely green island, energy, alternative energy. So this is another area. If we have Nigerians who are into green energy, alternative energy, solar panels, solar farming, they can build solar farms there and build solar panels there and use Antigua as a hub, because you have the access, direct access into the United States market, the Caribbean, and South America, both North, South America, and the region. So don't think of it as just the destination that you're only satisfying Antigua and Barbuda. Once you're in Antigua and Barbuda, you have now a hub for the region, and under CARIFTA, Caribbean Free Trade Area, you have access to the bigger markets. Right? And that, I think, is what people should be seeing. The Dangotes, for example, can set up a distribution point for cement in Antigua and Barbuda and send it down in bulk and have it bagged. It becomes a Caribbean product, an Antigua and Barbuda product, for example. Guys from ABBA who are having shoes, for example, they can bring their shoes there, sole it there, nail it there, and it becomes a Caribbean product. From the north, leather goods. They can bring leather there. We have a free trade zone. They can bring leather goods there, do finishes there, whether it's leather jackets or any other bags, etc. It also becomes a Caribbean product. So there's opportunities right around the whole strata of business and entrepreneurship and opportunities and investment.
Okay, you know, a lot of us, a lot of Nigerians know little about Antigua and Barbuda,
yes,
except for what has happened.
Yes.
Tell us about this country before this devastation.
Well, an island that has 365 beaches is perhaps one of the best kept secrets in the world. One beach for every day of the year. 365 beaches. It's a destination for honeymoon. It's a destination for vacationing. You have Sandals there, and Sandals is well known around the world for vacation packages for couples. You have the entire tourism spectrum where you can go if you want and hide away. You have Oprah Winfrey, Robert De Niro, Eric Clapton, Amani. All these people go to Antigua and Barbuda, have little homes there quietly, and are enjoying the Caribbean and what it has to offer through Antigua and Barbuda. So that's one of the great things, the tourism aspect. Again, the citizenship by investment. That is one of the things that the passport of Antigua and Barbuda is well accepted right around the world, from China to the United Kingdom, Canada, etc. And that gives people who decide to invest and become a second citizen, have a second citizenship, because most people around the world now have dual citizenship, or what we call global citizenship, to allow them to travel freely all over and have access. So it offers that as well. Plus banking, offshore banking. It is a country that has a very good banking policy, very good banking system, and allows you the opportunity to set up your own private bank if needed be, right? And operate and do your business, just like Dubai. Dubai has offered in their free trade zone, you can come in there, set up whichever industry you want, including banking, and you can transact your business. So it's a well-kept secret that Antigua and Barbuda has these opportunities: banking, finance, tourism, tourism attraction and tourism related industries, right? And of course, it's a hub that no one has thought about. It's a hub. If someone is thinking, for example, to fly directly from Nigeria or the coast of West Africa into the Caribbean with access to the United States, come to Antigua. We are willing to give, right, our flag, so you can fly under our flag, because we don't have an airline. So you can become an Antiguan airline, right, by positioning yourselves in Antigua, and the Prime Minister will give you access under the Fifth Freedom to Miami and any other point in the United States, for example, because we have flights coming in from Canada, the United Kingdom, the United States, and the Caribbean. So as a hub to hub, let's just say, a Nigerian hub operator flies directly to Antigua, and from Antigua, he continues on to Miami under the flag of Antigua and Barbuda, like you do with ships. And so you can hit Cuba, Puerto Rico, onto Miami, onto Canada, onto New York, onto Washington, you know. And if you're thinking, for example, Nigerian are good traders, you can use the country as a trading hub. For example, we are thinking that we have the old terminal. Someone can take over that old terminal, put a hotel on at the airport, right, and have a full-time exhibition. So people who are trading in electronics, leather goods, duty-free, etc., can have a total exhibition, and people fly in from all over and buy their goods and go. You can also warehouse your stuff that you're buying in the United States or wherever, and from there, if you have the flights, fly them over to Nigeria. And I know a lot of the traders that we have do things like that, would be interested in that. They go to Dubai and they pack their aircraft, right? Why not come to Antigua, buy what you need to buy in the United States, warehouse it there, and then your flights are taking you directly over. So you are flying double, your cargo and your flight, and taking it back to Nigeria and to West Africa, because West Africa is a hub. Nigeria is a hub for West Africa. So I think it's an opportunity for traders as well. Whether you're from the north, southeast, south-south, southwest, this is an opportunity as well. So Antigua and Barbuda see it as an economic hub, see it as the Prime Minister sees it as the hub of the Caribbean, economic hub of the Caribbean, trade hub of the Caribbean, and the Dubai of the Caribbean. So let's look at structures, iconic structures for Antigua and Barbuda. Let's look for the green city, the green island of Barbuda, and let's look for the economic hub of building up Antigua as that economic hub.
Okay, let's go back to the devastation. And of course, you made contact with the Nigerian government about the plea of the Prime Minister that Nigeria as a big brother should step in and assist in this time of need. How successful has that interface been?
Right, we are now waiting. The Minister of Foreign Affairs had gone to the UNGA with the President, and he did say to me that he made recommendations on a submission. And we are now waiting for the response to that. He's back, and we have discussed, and I'm waiting on his response. Okay.
Let's look at the larger relationship, because this unfortunate incident too will pass away. What kind of future
relationship
are we seeing for the bilateral relations between your country and the Nigeria and her government?
Right, okay, let's just take the disaster first as one of the things that can lead to a strengthening of the bilaterals. One of the requests I made is Nigerian naval ships, the Navy, right? When NNS Thunder was coming through from the United States, I held a reception for them in the Caribbean. We are saying, okay, for example, during the hurricane season, let's have a Nigerian naval ship or two doing a tour in the Caribbean. So they come down around June, July during the hurricane season, base themselves in Antigua and Barbuda, right? And stay there during the hurricane season. Of course, they can have courtesy calls on all the islands, but with the base there, right? What that does is, as Antigua and Barbuda, part of the Caribbean, is now part of the African Union, it behoves the African Union and any of the member states to lend support. And Nigeria, being the big brother in the African Union, can do so now, because when President Obasanjo went back in 2005 From that visit, he went straight to the AU and made the Caribbean the 52nd state of the African Union. So we're saying, okay, as we are now part of the African Union, Nigeria's big brother, send down a naval ship or two with maybe a couple helicopters, right, and base themselves in Antigua and Barbuda. So when something like this happens, we have almost immediately the logistics you talked about. We have a naval ship that can quickly move between the islands, evacuate people if necessary, take also relief material, which can be on board in case of an emergency, and play the part of Big Brother when others are not doing it at the moment, you know.
But the cost will be so high. The cost will be so high.
Well, I would say that if you're developing bilateral relationships and Nigeria is setting a footprint in the Caribbean, that is a cost that is not that high because it's a tour of duty. The naval ships go everywhere else. They do the Equatorial Guinea, etc. It's a small cost that can be paid to your brothers in the diaspora who are always there and willing to help Nigeria whenever the international requirement is there to support. So I think the cost is not as high for the gains. As a gain. You know, we're looking at what is the exchange. The gain that you can get to have 11 OACS countries support Nigeria in any quest in the international fora is a small change to the gain they will get for the support of being there during a period when there could be an emergency. You see what's happened in Puerto Rico. You see how the US had to move so many logistics there, right? If you're on a tour of duty there, of course, I'm sure the governments will host the Nigerian naval ships and will be more than happy to receive them. As I said, that is strengthening the bond between the OECS who helped Nigeria and, and Nigeria. And that is the Eastern Caribbean states, all of the Caribbean, helping Nigeria. So that is true South-South cooperation and South-South collaboration. All right, so that is one of the major things. You asked about, how is the bilateral,
how it will grow.
How it will grow.
And be beneficial to both parties.
Then again, Nigeria now, if you're looking at markets, let's talk business, entrepreneurship, and economics. You're looking to grow your market outside of Nigeria. You have the whole Caribbean region, you have South America, you have North America. You establish, for example, any of the agencies, Nigerian agencies, whether it's FAN, whether it's Federal Mortgage Bank, whether it's Federal Housing Authority, etc., stick a pin in the Caribbean and start to develop, some business opportunities, however small. It gives them an opportunity to expand their reach and, of course, Forex revenue outside of Nigeria. So some of the government agencies can establish themselves with small projects there on a government-to-government basis. Or the business people doing PPP with the government. And Nigerian businessmen, as you know, they go as far as China, right? Why not go to Antigua and Barbuda, right? And establish PPPs with the government. When you do that, you are still earning Forex and revenue, and of course, you are opening up yourself to another market.
Okay, Your Excellency, when you talk about the hurricane season, for those of us that are not in those areas,
yes.
We're like, you mean it happens all the time? So why are people still staying in these areas? Why are they not migrating? If they know that they are in danger side.
No, the islands are all beautiful and are stable year-round, except during the hurricane season. Not regularly do you have these disasters. They are irregular rather than regular. You do have storms during that period. But the important thing is that the climate change has changed the paradigm. For example, whereas the waters were not as warm before, because of climate change, they're warmer. And if they're warmer, it means now they're becoming more frequent. Now, why would they leave the islands? Where would they go to? Who will take them? Right? They have been established there for hundreds of years, because most of them, as you know, came from Africa, and a lot came from Nigeria. So you still have to see the islanders as your brothers in Nigeria, the Igbos in Tobago, the Yorubas in Trinidad, you know, the Ghanaians in Barbados, etc. You can trace them all, where the slaves dumped them in all the different islands. And so they have had to make those islands work for them in the economies of agriculture and tourism, and in places like Trinidad and Tobago, oil and gas, etc. So it is not something that happens monthly. It's not something that happens frequently.
Yeah, because a lot of Nigerian investors will be scared. Why should I come and invest in a country where I know every year I have to face the risk of the hurricanes?
Yeah, well, let's take a step back. If you are prepared and you have invested, right, now that we know the highest category is a category 5, people can build against that, and that is the plans now. People have to build against to withstand a hurricane. And don't forget, a hurricane passes over a period of 5 hours. It's something that happens, a natural disaster. It happens anywhere you are. Doesn't China have slides? Doesn't mudslides? Don't they have, you know, disasters, earthquakes, etc.? Everywhere in the world has their own little bit of disaster. Even Nigeria, we have, in most of the states, you have, you know, erosions, you have mudslides, you have, you know, rainfalls, etc. You know, and they are also catastrophic. So it doesn't matter about a disaster occurring every now and again. It's how you mitigate against that. And I would say, anybody building, for example, you're building a warehouse, you'll build against a category 5. I have advised that people should build roofs that are 4, 6, and 8-sided, so you send the wind shear around the building, for example, because most of the disaster that happen with those houses is the A-shaped roof that lifts from the wind and the severity of the wind that comes through those houses, and that dumps water, adding to the water that's filling up the area. So if you're investing, depending on the type of investment you're making, you mitigate against that type of disaster because you know it. But it does not stop the investment profile. The investment profile, if it's for 2 days in a year, and you mitigate it against that, it's a premium risk. You can get insurance, you can mitigate against it with the type of building, structure, etc. Your business investment is still, the main thing is that what are you investing in and what are your returns on your investment?
Okay. Finally, what is your message for Nigerians? Because as you rightly pointed out, gradually we're having our own share of these environmental disasters.
Yes.
Of course, as we speak, a couple of communities in Nigeria have been advised about evacuation because of flooding.
Yes.
So what would be your advice to Nigerians in terms of not just mitigating, but even when it comes, how to confront it and how to, you know, get out of it?
You mean the Nigerian aspect?
Yes.
Well, it has to do with
based on the experience of the Caribbean.
Well, it has to do with the states and their own government planning against these things. But some things that I have seen which I think needs to be addressed, you don't build on a canal. You don't build on a riverbank, especially if these areas have not been earmarked for building. You don't clog your waterways with plastics. You don't, for example, dump refuse, right, in a place that is not earmarked for refuse. I think these are the things that I have seen that have caused some of the disasters in Nigeria and could be mitigated against by proper town planning and enforcement, law enforcement and environmental enforcement, and those governors who are actually demolishing buildings. They are correct. If you were not given a CFO, which they did not give for these places for you to build these shanty towns or houses, and you're blocking up drains, etc., and there's no way for water to run and they will come. It is your own fault if that has happened. So I would say governors, state environmental agencies, and also developers, because some developers are also at fault, desist from building in areas that are going to cause these natural disasters to overflow into your homes. So Nigeria needs to mitigate against those things by proper enforcement of their own laws.
Mr. Ambassador, I'd like to thank you for coming on our program.
Thank you very much, Finn. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to promote Antigua and Barbuda to Nigeria and Nigerians and to the government and to the African continent and internationally, since your program is international. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And that's our program for today. We've been speaking with Ambassador Wallace Williams, the Ambassador of Antigua and Barbuda in Nigeria. I am Obiora Ilo. Thanks for watching, and let's do it again same time next week.
Thank you.